About 3 decades ago, he founded Marico. Then in 2002, he founded Kaya Clinic. Both are now listed on the Bombay Stock Exchange with fancy valuation figures. And now he's got into yet another new business venture. What is with you and entrepreneurship, sir? What's the secret behind this serial entrepreneurship?
There's no secret. I enjoy creating businesses which are pioneering businesses, which are innovative businesses, and it's something which I get a lot of pleasure. So I think if I look back at my own history, I have seen that whenever we have pioneered something new or whenever we have innovated something, we have seen this continuous growth. So whatever I've done, I've done from that angle, from that lens of innovation or pioneering. I think that's what I enjoy doing it. I do it not for the sake of monetary gains. I do it because I enjoy doing it. I get a lot of pleasure in pioneering newer initiatives.
Yeah, I believe you meet two new entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs every month. Can you tell us about how does that go about? And does the Marico Foundation, what role does Marico Foundation play in those meetings?
Yeah, so I enjoy working with entrepreneurs because I believe that entrepreneurs add a lot of value to all the sections of the society. So whether it is themselves or their own employees, or their associates or their customers, or finally the society. Right. And if entrepreneurship thrives in the country, a lot of India's issues or problems or growth or employment will get resolved. So it's very important that you support entrepreneurs. And we realize that entrepreneurs, many times, they start off very well. They have a very good idea, but they're not able to scale up. They falter because they don't know how to delegate, or they don't know how to recruit good talent, or how to resolve some of the key challenges they face in expansion. And I think that's where we step in, because we believe that we, with our experience and with our pool of mentors who are working with us, can help these entrepreneurs. And not only entrepreneurs, we also work with social organizations. We started working with some on the area of agriculture. So we see our impact, the reach to cover not only just entrepreneurs, but NGOs, sectors like agriculture, which will benefit the country. I think more importantly, what we do is we involve a lot of other stakeholders in this. You know, our own Marico employees, they work with such organizations, and you know, they are functional experts or strategy experts, and they are deputed and they hold hands with these entrepreneurs or these NGOs, and just have a huge impact on their productivity or the way they do work.
When you say Marico employees interact with these startups and help them scale up or help them build economies of scale, is it let's say in packaging or in advertising? I mean, what exactly shape does it take?
I think first of all, we evaluate as an organization. We get lots of entries, and we would like to get more and more entries from entrepreneurs who want to scale up, who have an innovative idea, where we believe that there is a huge opportunity for them to scale. So I think that's the starting point. So we evaluate many proposals and shortlist a few of them. And on an average, we work with 7 to 8 organizations at a time. So once an organization is shortlisted, which is based on what they present to us, and I personally meet them, all the organizations, and give a go, no go. And once that is done, then we see what is the challenge they are facing. So there is no one standard answer. A lot will depend on that particular organization and what kind of challenge that organization is facing. It could be a manufacturing challenge, it could be a marketing challenge, it could be a packaging challenge, you know. So I think a lot depends on that particular organization, and we believe that we can offer solutions in all these fields because we have an organization which is dealing with all these issues. And we pick up then, you know, if it is a manufacturing organization, we pick up somebody from a manufacturing side of Marico. If it is a packaging, then we could involve somebody from a packaging development. So a lot will depend in that particular context in terms of the challenge which they are facing.
Indian entrepreneurship is really not as at that level as global entrepreneurship. So what exactly is holding Indian entrepreneurship
So I would
back?
say there is a lot of history attached to this. You know, all these years until the set of reforms which happened in the early 90s, we were a highly governed society, and the government had a lot of regulations. There was a lot of licensing raj, and that itself prevented a lot of entrepreneurs to set up their own businesses. And then lately, in the last 20, 30 years, we've seen the entrepreneurship boom. And I think you need a certain basic infrastructure for entrepreneurship to thrive. So for entrepreneurship to thrive, you need a certain basic ecosystem for entrepreneurs, and that includes financiers. And we've seen the last few years, the whole financing system has developed. You need consultants, you need individuals who are willing to take risk, and if there are failures, and there are bound to be failures because every entrepreneur is not going to succeed. So how are we treating failures in the society is also very important. I think we have just started. The beginning is good, and I'm very excited by the fact that we are seeing many youngsters wanting to start their own business. And some of the earlier barriers to business, especially in the consumer space, which I am in, have got reduced dramatically or vanished because of the digital opportunities. Earlier you had to, if you had to launch a brand, you had to spend big money on advertising in television. Now you can do it through the digital medium. You don't need big money. You needed distribution to small grocery shops. Now you don't need that. You can just launch your product through e-commerce or through modern trade.
Right. I'd love to hear about your success story with Marico. At a time when you're saying there were so many constraints to entrepreneurship. But I'll come to that in just a minute. What I do want to know from you is when you talked entrepreneurship, you talked about how things have improved in the last 20 years. But what are the things, if you can just name one or two things that are still holding Indian entrepreneurship back?
I think it's a journey. It will improve. I'm 100% sure that it will improve. We need a far better technology platforms, individuals who can learn from others. So we need a very robust consulting system. We need to change our education systems where education actually is not based on rote system of learning, and it encourages individuals to experiment. We need to change the society norms of failure. That failure is a learning opportunity, and you can learn from failures and not look at failures as a negative. So on all these fronts there is movement, but we need to accelerate that movement.
Most family-owned businesses go through a cycle of ups and downs. And Marico has been consistent. Why?
So I would say that I think at a promoter level, there are conflicts in terms of what is the role of promoter, what is good for the promoter, what is good for the business. Right. And if you are a publicly quoted company, the challenge is much more. Yeah. And I think it's very important that the company's interests come first when there is a conflict. So we followed that kind of a thumb rule that whenever there is a conflict, the company's interests come first. Number two, what is the role of family in managing? You should leverage the business and not say that I want to do something because I own it. I think ultimately what is sound for business, as I said, come first, and I've followed that principle. At the family level, it's important to build the right level of trust within the family and not take ownership as a right to manage the company.
So you talked about this conflict, and in the case of this conflict, and how they need to be resolved in favor of the company and not the individual. At the cost of sharing some secrets, would you like to share one such conflict?
So when Marico began operations in the early 90s, and when we went public, the brands Parachute and Saffola, which have been our biggest assets, were owned by a family company, not by Marico. And all the shareholders, when we went public, went on saying that if the family pulls out these brands from Marico, Marico is left with nothing. So why should we invest in Marico? And I think that's where I realized that there was a conflict in terms of family's interest versus the company's interest. And we enabled Marico to buy over these brands at a very low valuation. Mm-hmm. I think that played a very important role in Marico's success in the capital markets.
Great. And at a time today when a bulk of the workforce is young and digitally savvy and digital natives, what do you think are key mantras for a business like, an old business like Marico, to kind of, what are you doing within your system to change things?
So I think the millennial customer, the millennial employee is very, very different from the employees of the earlier days. And we have to realize that their aspirations are very different. Their expectations are very different. So first of all, you need to have a very strong purpose in the organization, because these millennial employees, they want to work for an organization which has a purpose, which is just not to make money but to add value to others also. So I think you need to have the right purpose, you need to talk about their purpose. Secondly, they want more and more career opportunities, so they want fast track kind of development, so you need to be aware of that. Number three, they also want some cross-functional experiences, something which is not connected to their day-to-day jobs, but they want to do that. They also want to have an impact on the social side, so they want to be involved in the corporate social responsibility. So a whole host of things where you have to look at them as opportunities, because if you say that, no, I will do things as I was doing in the earlier, you will not be able to attract millennials. So it's very important that they are able to add value, they understand the digital world far better than you and me, because they are born in that age. So you need to, if you have to make the transition to a digital business and digital disruptions, you have to recruit them and you have to make them responsible for that. And for making them come to you, you have to ensure that you meet their aspirations and their thought processes.
And which is why now Aqua Centric therapy, your latest baby, is probably a step in that direction.
So that's a new business I've started, and it's again a pioneering business. We realize that there are opportunities for us to build a business which is a holistic business, which is does not rely on medication. So we realized that there were many issues. If you had some ortho issues in terms of knee problems or back problems, or neuro issues where somebody had a stroke and not able to move, or pediatric issues for some disabled children, we could offer something which was very, very valuable to them. And we have set up 2 centers in Bombay now. It's known as Aqua Centric, one in Andheri and one in Worli. And the whole objective of that is to offer something which is relevant for all these ailments, because your weight in water is 1/10 the weight on land, and your ability to exercise is much better. So if you are not able to exercise on land, what you will be able to do in water will be much, much easier to do. And one has seen that if you are able to exercise those muscles which have not been used because of your disability, then your recovery is much faster.
So all the best for the initiative, sir. And will we see Aqua Centric on the Bombay Stock Exchange soon, like your other businesses?
We don't know. It's too early just now, but let's wait and watch.
All right. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you.